My name is Srinivas. I'm working as assistant professor in IARA College. In this session, we'll discuss the entry questions of SQL. This is part 3. Earlier, we have finished part 1 and 2. Today, we'll continue with the third set of questions. Okay, getting started. Okay, what is the difference between a truncate and a delete? Okay, we know that the truncate will going to remove all the records from the database. Truncate removes all the records from the database. The free space is freed. Whereas in the delete, it is not that the records are deleted, but it is the memory is not released back to the OS, and also we can undo the changes if we keep properly in the transactions. Okay, undo the delete operations, and also if you want to delete all the rows, we don't need to use where clause. But if you use the where clause, only the set of conditional records that means condition will be deleted. Okay. Further, we will see what are the other differences. First, it is the truncate is a DDL command. In the DDL command is a data reflection command. Okay. Apart from truncate, we also have delete, drop, and alter in the DDL. So same way, the delete is a DML command. In DML command, we have data manipulation command, and we have like insert, update, and delete in the DML. Okay. And also, it is a table lock, and whereas in the delete, it is a row lock. In the truncate, no where clause is used. Only the syntax could be truncate table, given table name, truncate EMP. Okay, truncate EMP. So no where clause is used in the truncate. Whereas in the delete we have the where clause. If we don't give the where clause, all the records will be removed, and it is faster. The truncate will be faster, whereas whereas the delete will be little slower. And identity column is reset. It returns the identity. Because here you are not deleting the structure. Structure only records are deleting. But here in the case of truncate, all the records are gone. That's why it is identity column is resetted. And in the truncate, we cannot activate the trigger. Whereas in the delete, we can fire the trigger on delete trigger or after insert after delete trigger. So these are the differences at high level between a truncate and delete. That's right. Okay, what is the difference between a primary key and unique key? So both are the keys which will uniquely identify the record, but there is some difference between a primary key and unique key. So both enforces uniqueness of the column on which they are defined. So you define the primary key on a columns and also the unique key. Both will define uniqueness. Primary key creates a clustered index on the column by default. So whenever you create a primary key, a clustered index is created on the column, whereas unique key creates a non-clustered index by default. Even the unique key also creates one index, but it is non-clustered. Unique. It will be non-clustered unique key, whereas primary key will create a clustered index. Primary key does not allow nulls, but unique key always allows one null value. So your primary key will not have any one null or even one null value, whereas unique key you can have one null value. Okay, there can be only one primary key in a table. There can be only one primary key in a table. That means your table should have only primary key, but that primary key can have more than one column. You can define a primary key on a table with single column or multiple columns, whereas a table can have more than one unique key in a table. So you can have more than one column as a unique key. So suppose you have 5 columns. Out of you have 5 columns, you can have one key as a primary key, one column or two columns as primary key, but you can have remaining unique keys of all the other columns. All the other columns. So that is the difference between a unique key. That is the difference between unique key and primary key. Okay. Now we'll see the difference between a having clause and where clause. So having clause comes with the group by statement, where where clause comes with the select statement. In order to filter the result set, we have to use where clause. In order to filter the group data, we have to use a having clause. So having clause comes with group by, and your select statement comes, your where clause comes with the select statement. So both are used to specify a search condition to the query. So both are going to specify some searching to the to the result set. Having 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 clause can be only with select statement. This is a wrong statement. Having can be only with having only with the group by clause. With the group by clause also a select statement. Group by or select. Having clause is basically used only with groups with the group by function in a query. So having clause is basically used with a group by clause. Well, the where clause is applied to each and every row before they are part of the group by in a query. So how do you write? How can you write a having clause? I'll say select count of count of students. Hmm, count of students. I'll say branch from branch from students table group by group by branch group by branch, and then I will say having having count star of students count of students greater than 10. So this is the syntax for the having clause. Having clause will come with the group by clause, and after if you want to filter the group data, you have to use the having clause. So your where clause is used to filter the select query. So, select star from students where where branch is equal to computers. So in this case, you will be getting data only of computer science data. So this is the difference between a where clause and a group by clause, having clause. Now, what are the local and global temporary tables? So, temporary tables are tables created for your manipulation of data. And suppose you have used data, instead of directly updating on main table, first you create a copy and you start working on so that copy can be created in a temporary tables. So temporary tables is just like a permanent table in database, except they are created in STEMDB and automatically deleted when they are no longer used. So when you don't after your completion is completed, this table will be automatically deleted, and this will be created in the temp DB. So we know that we have some master databases, system databases, master model, master model, temp DB, MSDB, and also resource DB. So TempDB is that where your temporary tables will exist. Okay, that is the purpose of the temporary tables. So we have two types of temporary tables. Those are local temporary tables and global temporary tables. So we have two types of tables. One is local global tables, and what is the other thing is global temporary tables. Now we'll see what is the difference between a local temporary table and global temporary table. In the local temporary tables, these tables are visible only to the connection that creates it, and deleted when the connection is closed. Okay, this means that that means you connect to the server by using some credentials, right? Or using some credentials, you connect to the server and you start working on the database. So when you create a local temporary table, this is specific to only this connection. This is specific to only this connection. That means if the same at the same time, if at the same time, if another user is trying to will not see this temporary table because it is specific to only this connection, and this table will be dropped automatically when the connection is closed. So after you finishing, you close the instance, then automatically the local temporary table is closed. They accept a single hash value as a prefix as a created. Suppose you create a table called emp temp table, it will be like a hash emp hash student. And mind you, this is only for available only for this particular connection. If you close this connection, this table is lost. Or the same time, somebody else is trying to access this hash EMP hash students, they will not have access to this database. That is the local temporary tables. Now, how do you create a local temporary table? Create table, temp table. As you create other tables, create table. You don't have the hash symbol before a local permanent table. Here you will say hash table. If the temporary table is created in a stored procedure, it is automatically dropped on the completion of the stored execution. Okay, you write your business logic in a stored procedure. In a stored procedure, uh, create procedure, procedure, begin and end, in begin and end. In this begin and end, you try to create on temporary table. You try to create on temporary table. When you call this procedure, the table is when the table is created automatically and also dropped immediately. So after completion of your stored process execution, then your local table is also dropped. Okay, now we'll see what is a global temporary table. A global temporary tables. These tables are visible to all the connections of the SQL server and only destroyed when the last connection referencing the table is closed. Okay, so unlike local, globals are available to all the users who are connected to this database, and they are exist till the last connection is available. And in order to create a global temporal, we have to use double hash. We have to use double hash to create a global temporary table. So in order to create in the case of local table, we are using hash symbol. In the case of global, we use double hash. We use double hash, and this is available to all the users of the who are connected to the server, and it exists till the last. It will exist till the last user available in the database. Okay. Now we'll see some what is the stuff and replace function. Okay, stuff function. This function replaces string from the given start position. The string passed as a last argument. So the stuff function is going to replace the string from the given start position with the string specified as a last argument. So the syntax will be stuff character expression of the string original string start how many characters you want to replace and replace with the given expression. Now in this case example, my original name, my original string value is Windows. I want to start at third position. I want to replace three characters, and those characters are ABC. So here I'm saying select stuff of Windows 3, 3, ABC. That means it will start with the third letter is N. So NDO. So Windows. So third is the NDO. NDO will be replaced with ABC. So your string will be WIABC. That WIABC will WS. This is the stuff function. The stuff function takes three arguments, four arguments. The string to be replaced, the string to be replaced, the string actually to be replaced, the start position, the number of characters to be searched and replaced with the given string. Okay, this is the stuff function. Now we'll see the replace function. The replace function is used to replace all occurrences of a specified and the string passes argument. So in the case of replace, will replace all. It is like copy and like control H. Say replace all. Replace all. So replace is going to replace all the occurrences of the given string. But in the example here, we have three parameters to be passed for a replace: the original string to be searched upon, the string pattern, and what is the string you want to replace. So in the case of Windows here, Windows Wireless, the Windows Wireless select replace of Windows Wireless expression is expression is Windows Wireless, string to be searched upon is WI. I want to replace with XY. So WI is very big. So whenever there is WI, it will be replaced with XY. So you get just the new word. In the place of WI, you get word XY. XY. This is the replace and the stuff function. Explain the use of stored procedures. Okay. Now this question is explain the question of stored procedures. Okay. Stored procedures can network reduce network traffic and provides improved performance. It can have multiple select statement but requires only one call to the database. So how does what is a stored procedure? It is a type of routine in which you write some business logic, and a group of multiple statements can be combined in and be stored procedures. So when you call to the server, instead of calling, suppose you have 10 lines in that 10 SQL statements in that stored procedure, you are calling 10 times to the server, going to the server and coming back to give the result. I only write this all this 10 lines in a stored procedure, and I call this procedure. So only once I'm calling, this goes to this goes to the server. The processing is done at the server. Processing is done, and all the output is as written as a part of the solution. So only one hit to server, and you're going to get all the data at go. Unlike if you want to achieve the same thing by writing simple SQL statements, then you have to write 10 statements. Each statement executed, you have to go server, process, again comes back to the first record. Then the second selection, third, fourth example. So this is how you are reducing the network traffic because you are sending only once instead of sending it 10 times. So SQL Server caches the stored process execution plan in memory and reuses or subsequent calls which helps in reduce the server overhead. So when you execute a stored process, it's the execution plan. Means how it means what is the table involved, it goes to and how it is everything is stored in memory. Everything is stored in memory. So next time when you call the same procedure, automatically you'll get the faster, right? Because this already has stored in his memory execution plans. The stored procedures provide better security to your data. For example, you can restrict access to the data by allowing the users to manipulate the data only through stored procedures and deny access to the table. Okay. This also provides for you the security. The security here, you don't want to give access to the table directly. You don't want to give the table access directly. He might, if you give the table access, he can do anything in the database. He can delete, he can insert, he can drop anything, he can delete. But we give him that access to the stored procedure, which in the stored procedure, you write a logic say that It is only selecting the data from the given table. So logic in the stored procedures, I'm saying select star from students. I want students where where course is equal to ECE ECE. Uh, so if I give access to the store procedure, he can be only be able to see the data in this ECE department only. He cannot see CSC or another branch. But if you give access to this table direct to the user, he can see entire data, and he can also update, insert, he can do whatever you want. So this is how security is implemented in store procedure. When you don't want to when you don't want to expose all the data, use the stored procedures which has inbuilt. You can write your inbuilt logic in the stored procedure. Okay, now what is a collisive in SQL Server? There are two. We had already discussed. There are two functions here in SQL Server. It is collisive, and also is null. We have these two functions, inbuilt functions for the SQL Server. The SQL Server collisive function returns the first non non-null expression in list. First non-null expression in list. For example, select collisive of null. See, one, two, three. You have four nulls. Then the tutorial right is one string. Null is one more value. Here, carry right. When I execute this, I'm going to get the collisive and also you can also use the function like so you can also use select collisive of your student mobile number uh, mobile student mobile slash student mobile slash I'll say uh, XXXX. So what this is going to do is that when there is a mobile number, it displays the mobile number. When there is no mobile number, it displays as XXX. So this is the collisive function. Collisive function in SQL Server. How exceptions can be handled in SQL programming language? How exceptions can handle? So we know that there's something called try catch blocks. These are the functions. By this, using this try catch blocks, you can do the exception handling. So exception handling are handled in SQL Server programming language by using the try catch statement, just like the same as the programming language C++ Java has. So C++, Java, or another Python. Same way we have the try and catch block. Try and catch blocks. Try and catch blocks to do the error handling. So whatever the logic you write in the try in the try block, and how you want to catch these exceptions should be handled in the catch blocks. So whenever you get whenever you get an error in the try, it goes to the catch. It checks if there is any error handling for this particular error. If there is no error code, it crashes, and or it crashes. If there is some error handling, it does the error handling and shows the different output. Okay, so it is begin try, end try. In between, you have to write your SQL statements, and if you expect any error here, you have to write here. You have to write in the beginning. You can also throw the exception also. If you don't want to handle the exception, you can also throw the exception also outside. You can also throw the exception also outside. That is the throw begin error handling in SQL Server. What is the purpose of floor? The SQL Server floor returns the largest integer value that is equal or less than the number. So floor So a store here in select floor of 5.75 has a floor value. Floor of 5.75. This is going to give answer as 5 because what is the floor function? Is going to return the largest integer value, that is equal or less than the given number. So is there is also something called as floor and ceiling. There are no function called as ceiling. Just opposite to floor is ceiling. In the floor, you are going to get the largest integer value. Okay, what is a trigger? And what is a trigger? And What are the types of triggers? So trigger is a special kind of stored procedure that fires automatically. That means you don't need to invoke it. Like, for example, if you want to invoke a store procedure, you have to call it exec, the store procedure. But a trigger, you don't need to call it will fire automatically. Automatically gets invoked when an event occurs in the database server. When what is an event? Like insert is an event, update is an event, delete is an event. So whenever there is an event occurring, in that case, trigger will automatically fire. We can create data manipulation language triggers and DDL triggers in the database. So we can create the triggers on DDL and also on DML. So we can create triggers at all the commands of the DDL and also all the commands of DML. Okay, a DML trigger is used for insert. A DML trigger is used for insert, delete, and update statements of a table or a view. So your DML commands are insert, delete, and update. At all these places, you can use a DDL trigger, and the DDL trigger is it can be invoked upon create, alter, and drop statements of a table or a view. So whenever you create a table, you can invoke a trigger, also alter and drop. So triggers can be invoked. They will be invoked directly, automatically. You don't need to call the trigger to. You cannot call the trigger to make it work. So it's always linked to the event. So in this we have the DDL triggers, DML triggers. Again, the DML we have after or instead of. So after triggers means these triggers will fire after the insert is happening, or after the update is happening, or delete is happening. So these are after triggers. What is instead of triggers? Instead of triggers is instead of delete, this is going to happen. Instead of update, this is going to happen. Instead of drop, update, or insert or delete, this is going to happen. So the third term is logon triggers. The third is the logon triggers. Okay, differences between a stored procedure and triggers. Triggers will fire explicitly, while stored procedures are called explicitly. That means, how do you call a stored procedure? You call exec. The name of the stored procedure is I want to sp underscore insert data. Insert data. This is how you call the stored procedure. But in the case of trigger, you cannot call the trigger. In order to call the trigger, you have to link your code to an event. That event can be DDL or DML. In the detail we have create, alter, and drop. In the case of DML, we have insert, update, and delete. At any of these events, you can write a code. Then your triggers will fire automatically. The triggers will fire automatically. What is an identity column in a database table? What is an identity? It is like instead of you giving a value, system will give a value to you. Instead of you inserting student number manually every time, see if you make the column as identity, then you don't need to give system value. System will generate a value for you. So identity column is like auto number field in micro access or sequence, or a sequence or is the automatic number field in micro access, or like a sequence in Oracle. Using identity column, you can make that column as auto incremental number or a surrogate key. So you can make it as an auto increment number. Suppose my student number starts with 1, my next record should be 2, and it should be keep on there. So you writing this, you make this column identity and say auto increment by 1, auto increment by 1. So whenever it checks the last record, it inserts a new value. So next record will be 4. This is auto increment property. It takes two arguments: starting position and how much to increment. So suppose I say starting at 100, my increment should be 1. My first record will be 100. My second record will be 101. My second record will be similarly 103. So auto increment takes two arguments: the starting position where you want to start, starting position, also how much to increment is known in the my identity column. Explain the difference between union and union all. Explain the difference between union and union all. Union commands. So union on all is to combine two result sets. Union and union all are a command to combine two result sets. So like if I say A union B, the result, this is one result set, this is one result set. These two result sets will be combined together. By using the union, we have union and union all also. Union combines the result set of two or more queries into a single result set. A union statement, a union statement is like a select distinct on a result set. So only the distinct records from the two result sets will be displayed to the user. So union is a command used to combine two result sets. To combine two result sets, we have to use the union clause. In the union, the number of columns and the sequence of columns must be same in all the queries, and also data types must be compatibility. So in the union, you cannot. I'll say here, select name, select a name, student name from student, and union. I cannot write select age of from student. Here, the column should be the column or data should be same. The number of columns should be same, and the sequence of columns should be same. So this is the union of clause is it will give all the records, even the duplicate records will also be included in the result set. So union will have all distinct records. Union all will have the all the batching, all the repeating records also. So what is a dynamic SQL? So dynamic SQL is a set of statements. The set of statements dynamically constructed and executed at runtime, and it will not be stored in the database. Like your SQL statements, if you write a source is stored in database. That logic, if you write it in the dynamic execution, it is constructed automatically, constructed dynamically, and it will be executed, and it will not be stored in database. It will not be stored in database. Okay, then we have what you use of set no count. You must have seen in your some SQL code. Some people write set no count, on or off, on or off, on or off. So when set no count is off, the count is written. The count is written, which indicates the number of rows affected by the transfer SQL. When you say select star from EMP, suppose you have 10 records. When you set it to off, you will not get the 10. Huh? When the set no count is on, the count is not written. By default, by default it is set no count is also set to off. When you don't want to display the number of records affected, then you have to make it as on. So set to no count off, it means you'll get the number of rows affected by the SQL query. If you make it on, you will not get how many rows are affected, and by default it is off. By default, the function is off. Now explain the substring and the char index in the sequence. Substring is from a given string you want to get some part of the string is a substring, whereas char index gives the character position at a given string. So if I say substring of cricket comma 3, here I'll replace that from the starting of the string, first 3 letters will be given CRI. If I say select substring of cricket 3 comma 2, that means from this string it starts with the third position, it gives you 2 characters. So CRN, it starts with I, you get IC. When you say select a substring of cricket, 3 comma 2, it starts with the third letter, and it takes two characters here. So third character is I, and the next character is C. So so substring is going to give you a part of a string. Substring is going to give you a part of a string. Carry index of cricket 1, returns calendars of cricket, i.e., then one starting position, it returns 3 as the I appears in the third position of the string. So when you want to know which character is present in a given location, you have to use the char index. Now, what is the null operator? So, is null operator checks whether a given value is null or not null in the SQL Server. What is the difference between var and nvarchar? So var and nvarchar are same, except with the difference of nvarchar can be used to store Unicode characters for multiple languages and also takes more space than compared to varchar. So nvarchar, is takes also store the Unicode characters, whereas char will store all normal characters. So what is the difference between date and get date and sysdate? So sysdate is more accurate than the get date. The get date can give up to nanoseconds or milliseconds. So your get date will give you up to milliseconds, whereas the sysdate in time will give you the operation in nanoseconds also. Okay, what is an SQL injection? SQL injection is one of the most common web hacking technology to destroy a database. To destroy a database, that means you inject some code into database so that it will corrupt the data. So SQL injection is like the placement of malicious code in a poorly designed application. Therefore, passes to the backend to get the data via input. So what is a view? A view is a predefined SQL query. Preview is a predefined SQL query, getting data from one or more tables by using joins. So views are good for security purpose because they provide the encapsulation of the name of that table. Table is in the virtual table, not permanently. Views display only selected data. So, what is the normalization? See, the normalization is the process of organizing the data into to minimize the redundancy. Whereas in database, Whereas the database is multiple tables, and there's some relation between all the tables. So opposite to the normalization is the denormalization form. In the denormalization is process of adding the redundancy the adding redundancy intentionally to optimize the performance of the database. So function and store process. See, function must return a written value, whereas the store process may or may not provide the written value. Function can have input parameters, while the store process can have both input and output parameters. Functions can take one mandatory input, whereas the process has no compulsion. Functions do not support exception handling. Exception handling, whereas the exception can be handling in the procedure using try catch blocks. What is this subquery? What is the properties? A subquery is a select query within a query. A subquery is a select statement that is needed, that is nested within other SQL statements and executed independently when it is nested and return the result set. The subquery can return only a single row or as an atomic value or multiple rows with the in keyword. So your subquery is a query in the normal query, and it is enclosed in the brackets. Okay, and the properties, it should be enclosed in the parenthesis. The subquery must be in the right hand side of the comparison operator. The subquery cannot consider order by, and a query can have more than one subquery. Huh? So if you want to list the students who got more than 80 marks, so select a name of student where student ID is. So in the select statement, we have one more subquery. Select student ID from score, where score is 80. So from this scores table, you will get the student ID. This student ID, when you pass it to the main thing, you are going to get all the students scored more than 80. So to techniques how to optimize the query performance. So you create useful indexes. So when you create indexes, you are going to achieve better performance. Also, yeah, also the rewrite the subqueries to use joins. So rewriting a subquery to use joins can achieve better performance. Yeah, limit using outer joins and use of parameterized queries. So what is a parameterized query? A parameterized query yields better performance by trying to compile the query only once and execute it multiple times using SQL plans. So what are the authentication in SQL? We have two types of authentication in SQL. One is the Windows, where you don't need to give your SQL username password, and you have the SQL authentication, where you have to give the name of the user. So what is the difference between a local and temporary tables? See, a local temporary table exists only for the duration of the connection it defined, whereas the global temporary table is available when they data permanently, but the rows exist only with the given connection. When the connection is closed, the data in the global temporal disappears. However, the table definition remains in the database, and when access is open. Thank you. This completes the sequel part 3 interview questions.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.